In this video, we'll discuss the features on Tyra Banks' face that point to an aesthetic-oriented life terrain, as well as likely fertility issues. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. So I am recording on Father's Day, which means this video is probably not going to be as long. My daughter has a dance recital. I've got things going on the smoker. So that said, as always, I want to still get a face reading video out for all of you. So if you're new to my channel, welcome, but please go up here and watch the 5-minute crash course face reading video. That'll give you some terms and terminology about what face reading is and give you a general orientation. And if any of you are finding value in my content, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, leave comments, engage as much as you can, and share these videos with whoever you think will find them interesting. That is how my channel is growing, and it's growing faster than it used to. So that's great. I think I'm at 4,400 now. So I picked up 400 subscribers in just a few months. So that's pretty good compared to what it was in the past. So on my way to 5,000. In any case, for today, we're looking at Tyra Banks. So Tyra Banks is very well known. She's been in a lot of TV shows. She used to be a supermodel. She modeled for Victoria's Secret. But she's got some interesting features, and there were a few things that I wanted to talk about that I think are relevant, and some of the leaks that I saw on her face that would be one primary leak, I should say, but I think that's worth talking about because women struggle with this issue sometimes, and it can be seen in the face. And while it can be hard to navigate at times, I still think it's worth talking about face reading theory and what I'm seeing. So the other precursor here I want to give is that Tyra Banks has had some plastic surgery. I don't know how much, I don't know what's going on, how much she's actually had, but she has had some. So as we go through this video, I'll talk about that as well, because when we do plastic surgery of any kind, we do change the landform of the face, and in theory that can change life force expression and can also change the person's life path to a degree, because how the world perceives them differently and how they perceive themselves differently. Because when we do plastic surgery, we're typically trying to augment something from the inside, and we're trying to change the external to get to that internal shift. Let's talk about her metal features first. So classically, metal is aligned with beauty, and that can be beautiful things, beautiful environments, but just the theme of beauty. So people, they say classically, if you carry a lot of metal, you're very attractive. Tyra Banks has been found very attractive by the mainstream for many years. And that being said, she carries metal because of that, but also elementally from the feature perspective she does as well, which means metal is characterized by big, wide, open spaces without a lot of interruption. So she has this big, open, broad forehead, big, open cheeks, big, open features across the board. Everything is just kind of open. So when we see that, the metal themes are going to be prevalent in the person's life terrain. And so we can see beauty is a theme. She was a model. There's definitely that. But then it's also about beauty in environments and artistic and creative and feminine pursuits. So a man can still carry metal and still have feminine attributes, quote unquote. But the metal element themes, spirituality and whatnot, would be things that I would be talking to her about, because the metal element also carries that. But one of the things I've noticed with metal element people, when they have a lot of metal, the classical symbol for the metal element is the mountain. And the tops of mountains can be very solitary or isolated places. So sometimes the person, even though they have a lot of metal, they get a lot of attention usually because of that. Their life terrain can be characterized by feeling alone and isolated. And that can be through experiences in life, things they struggle with. They feel more alone than the average person because the nature of metal is that high tippy-top mountain. So she's got a lot of that. She also has what they call the mother's influence hairline, which is where we see this rounded, curved hairline at the top. And so what that means is, in face reading theory, is that whatever relationship dynamic you have with the mother, with your mother, that is going to be on the front lines in terms of what you should digest first. So the thinking in Eastern philosophy is that we process and we digest our parental influence, and we can have a choice to a degree in which of those we want to process first. So yeah, you could say I can just process my parental stuff in therapy or whatever, but when they say let's talk about issues of the mother or issues of the father, I would say when you have the rounded hairline like that, which is characterized by that soft, round countenance at the top, that's all pointing to you should work on mother dynamics first. even if the dynamics with the mother were good, you still want to play to that first. And then when you digest that, you can move on to the father's side. So again, that would be a theme I would be discussing with her regarding that. And what else? Let's talk about her leak. This one is pretty noticeable. In almost every picture, Tyra Banks is lacking a philtrum. So the basic idea with the philtrum is this is a water element feature and it relates to fertility specifically. The ideal is wide, long, and deep. If you have all three of those, it said the Jing in terms of fertility is expressing very well. Now, if you only have 2 out of 3, that's still good, right? That's 66% more or less. If you only have 1, that's 33% of those metrics. Tyra Banks really doesn't have any. It's not shallow, wide, or deep. It's almost non-existent. And it's not to say there's nothing there, but it's so faint. And so the idea is the water element relates to fertility. And if you think of fluid, if you think of a person laying on their back and they're looking up at the ceiling, laying on a bed, if you were to put water here, like just a few drops of water, how well that space holds water, sort of like a crater, how well that holds water and how much is indicative of the quality and the depth of the Jing relating to fertility. She doesn't have any of these. And so when that's the case, usually what is said in face reading theory is that you can have very real fertility problems. If none of the markers are present, 1 or 2 out of the 3 or 3 out of the 3, if you don't have any of those long, wide, and deep features relating here, that means you're likely going to have some struggles in the fertility realm. Doesn't mean you can't have children, but there's going to be some sizable hurdles usually. Okay, so with her, that'd be something I would be talking to her about. Depending on what age I worked with her, I would say, if you're young, start this process early. If you have this kind of philtrum, I'd say jump into your fertility journey early. Don't wait until you're in your 40s to jump in, because chances are you're probably not as strong as you could be just by virtue of the genetic lottery. This is just sort of what it is. So this is something I'd be talking to her about. And when that's the case, we don't hold Jing well. That means that we can leak quite a bit also as we age. So when we don't have a lot of like a reservoir here, we don't have that space there, that means that when we get older, things can sort of deplete very fast. So again, themes I would be discussing with her. Now, in relation to her plastic surgery, if you look at these photos here from her youth when she's in her, I don't know when this was, but I was going through, it was hard to verify what was what online, but this looks like her late teens, maybe early 20s. And then the middle picture here is older, and the one on the right is most recent. She's definitely done something to her nose. And I read that she had something, that she was having breathing difficulties in her early 20s. And who knows if that's true or if that's just cover for I wanted a nose job because I'm going to be a supermodel. I don't know, and I'm not here to speculate. The problem I see with these kinds of things, especially when we're changing the nose is the central mountain of the face. It really changes the countenance of the face, and it changes the root of the face because this is the central feature. If you think about from the eyebrows to the bottom of the chin, okay, when we're looking at features, while the forehead does count, usually they're saying the middle is in relation from the eyebrows to here. The nose is the middle. That's the central pillar to your midlife. And it's not favorable, I think, to really shrink the nose tremendously. And I know people have issues with aesthetics and maybe they don't like their nose and all of those things. But the countenance and the Shen presentation on her face is pretty different here. So look at the picture on the left and then look at the picture on the right. 2 different people. That nose really changes things quite a bit. And the thing to remember is you're changing your life terrain. So how you go through your life, how you scale the mountains of your life are going to be changed and actually lessened. There's less material form there now. But then the world is also going to see that. And I know just from going online a little bit, looking at this picture on the right, people were saying, like, what has she done? That doesn't look great. She's looking... it's that vibe of the Janet Jackson, the Jackson family, a bit too much plastic surgery where things are just starting to augment, not for the better. So again, these are things that I would be talking to her about. The last piece I'll touch on is her mouth, very dominant. So it's an earth mouth. It's all about the 5 senses, sensuality, not to be confused with sexuality. While there can be some crossover, sensuality is just about the engagement of the five senses. When we see those earth-dominant themes, family, life, family-centric things, house and home, diet are really important, something to really pay attention to. And again, with that lack of philtrum and a dominant earth family mouth, this is a conflict that I would say we need to pay attention to and probably do some work on if things are going to unfold as they should or the way you would want them to. So again, this is my read, the general and prominent features that I saw in Tyra Banks. So happy Father's Day again. If you guys have questions, please let me know. And if there's anyone else you'd like me to read, please let me know. Thanks.